So you've got a dream and you're not sure where to start. Are you afraid, nervous, need some inspiration or a swift kick in the butt? Well, I have some great news. Today I have a couple of fellow dreamers and friends who have come by to help you with your next steps to success. I'm Brenda Bertrand and welcome to the show. You're going to learn more about my friends and how to get going on your dream on today's show. So hello, Leeta and Connie.
Hello.
Oh, I'm so glad y'all joined me. This is like a girl's time to just share about our dreams and to help a lot of people out there. Well, let me tell you first a little bit about Leeta and about Connie. So Leeta Thompson, she's the CEO and the founder of Big Sis and Company. And here's what she's doing. It's really cool. She is helping to change the face of domestic violence by doing events, by mentoring young men, raising up a new generation of husbands and fathers, as well as raising up teens who are aware. And she's doing this in the community here in the Metro DC area and doing a great job at it. She even has her own television show. And then Connie Dung is also with me, and she is the founder and the owner of Makeovers by Connie. Amazing makeup artist. I am not wearing her makeup right now, but I have in the past, and she does an exceptional job. And she is basically helping people to redesign their image from the inside as well as outside. So it's really exciting to have them. This is what they do when they're not doing their day job, and we'll find out all about that. So here we go. All right, so ladies, so we're talking about dreams, and there are tons of questions and thoughts, and people are just really feeling stuck. And so I want to inspire them today. You ready to inspire? Help me inspire some people?
Let's go.
Well, let's talk first about what is your dream. Leeta, why don't you kick us off? What is your dream?
Well, you know, my dream is really to kind of change the way that the community thinks, especially as you mentioned, dealing with domestic violence. People have certain impressions of what the typical victim looks like. So my dream has really been to just educate, make aware, so that people really know what domestic violence is, but most importantly, they can avoid it. So that's ultimately what my dream is.
And that's a huge dream. I mean, when you think about changing the face of something that has been so prevalent, that can be a huge dream. And we'll talk about how you came to that dream. And Connie, what about you? What's your dream?
Sure, my dream actually is more confined within the limit of a building. So imagine, if you will, a 3-story building. I want to have the first floor be an art gallery where they're going to showcase my own art and art of local artists. And the second floor will be a floor devoted to art therapy for kids.
Oh, wow.
And the third floor is going to be a makeup school. It could be for moms that are dropping their kids off for the day, or it could be for just stressed out women that want to have some personal time of their own.
Very nice.
It's really going to be embodied in a 3-story townhouse, if you will. And I'm just imagining it to be on a sunny side of a cobblestone street, hopefully in San Francisco. Now, I'm going to open that part. Anywhere near the sea, I'm going to be happy with. So.
And you know what's interesting, and y'all could tell me about this as well as you've talked to other people, is your dream is extremely specific, almost down to a city. Your dream is broad and has a big visionary type feel, and both dreams are going to change the world or change a city or change a certain sector of society. But do you at any moment think of domestic violence or think of art and art schools and get overwhelmed? What are your thoughts on how big your dream is and how you feel about that, either one of you?
Well, for me, you know, it's interesting because it can be overwhelming, but what I like about it is it's also transforming. When I started off, you know, I had one type of vision as far as what I wanted to do, and I was pretty determined that I was just going to deal with women survivors, you know, that's it. But when you kind of expand your mind, it opens up a whole new world. And now, you know, as you mentioned, I'm dealing with mentoring young boys and dealing with teens. So it kind of took on a life of its own, so to speak. But it's still under that same umbrella of really changing the way that people deal with relationships, specifically domestic violence.
Interesting. And Connie, what about you? Have your dream kind of become more specific, or was it always this way?
It's interesting you mentioned that, and I think Leeta brought up a good point about once you start doing it, the vision change. And in my case, it's really about as in the motion of doing what I want to do, I become more having more clarity around what I want to do. And the flip side of it is also that if I stop doing something, I kind of feel more and more disattached from my dream. So I think the key thing is to keep on doing something, even a little thing on a daily basis, so it can stay to date.
And you raise a good point, because knowing these women personally, I know that they have been taking incremental steps. And as those steps, as they start to take one step or another, it started out one way, and Leeta found a whole new world because she was open. And same with you, as you start taking steps, it started to become more clarified. I think that's really important. So tell me, when did your dreams start germinating? You know, do you remember the first time you actually thought, hey, I want to do something with this thing, and it is my dream or my life purpose?
For me, it's I got a chance to do a dream board, and it's a dream board is basically
Tell us about that. Yeah,
it's a piece of board. It can be however big you want. A lot of times people use the science project board that I use in high school, and go through the magazines, your favorite magazines, and clip out anything that catches your imagination, because there's probably a reason why that a guy on a snowboard would attract somebody, because they probably have a side of them that is really attracted to that adventurous type of activity. In my case, I found myself clipping sailboats, clipping sopranos that have a certain air, certain composure with them I just admire. Clipping pianos, because the sound of the piano just hypnotizes me.
And you're an artist, so you were being drawn to visuals that were expressing the internal sound.
Now I haven't thought about it. I mean, it's something that having to do in an RC edge, whether it's natural landscape, whether it's people in the art field. So that's kind of what starting to speak to me, and I said, whoa, all those images together, I kind of see them all fitting into a townhouse near the beach. So that's how mine came about.
Very nice. What about you, Leeta?
Well, mine was kind of interesting because I knew I wanted to do something, but I didn't quite know how or what. And I actually had sent an email to a radio station, and I was actually commending them for the work they do for domestic violence. And I talked a little bit about my story and just talked about how I'm glad that they, talk about this topic. They had so many callers call in, and they were like, I'm so glad this person, because they actually read my email on the air. People were calling in, they were talking about how their life was changed by this email, and how they've been thinking about they needed to make changes, and now that kind of gave them the boost to do it. So I got to thinking, and I was like, just from one email of sharing just a little snippet of my story actually changed people. And I thought, if I actually put energy into this and really, dedicated myself to this, imagine the people that can be affected, just by sharing your story, your talents, your passion. So that's really how that was kind of like that aha moment that got me really started on the path.
And what I'm hearing both of you say is that you're taking these small steps to what is available to you. Sometimes when people are pursuing dreams, they're looking for that perfect off in the horizon thing. You just heard a radio station and you were following that leading. You opened a magazine and you were picking what was speaking to you. You basically was responding to things that were in your life at that time. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. And to tack on to that, there's a really tragic story. A friend of mine told that he is still the director of the Jobs Ministry in Falls Church, right down the street. Great organization in terms of helping people finding their purpose in life. Jack, the director of the center, run into a fellow about 12 years ago, unemployed at the time, came to him for help. And he said, what do you want to do? What do you love to do? He said, I love to be a writer. And Jack said, why don't you just go ahead and write a page of diary a day and see what comes of it? The guy said, well, it's not going to bring me any money in the short term. I really need money, and just seems to be too big of an endeavor. Now, fast forward 12 years later, the guy is still unemployed and still a writer in the waiting. Compare with another guy that also went to Jack for help and had a story of a play in mind. So he started writing one page, or even one page a day or one page a week, and now he has a complete script that they can bring to people for review. And so, think about the difference.
Look at the difference. And that's why you all are making movement, you're making momentum, you're moving forward, and that's why I had them on the show. And there are the rest of us, I'll speak for all of us, that just wait for this perfect moment. And that perfect moment never comes. It just never comes. And so doing one small thing. Now, of course, you all are taking small steps, but I'm sure as you're taking steps, you're stumbling across some things and having some obstacles. What obstacles have come up along the way? Maybe some that surprised you or disappointed you or that stunted your growth. What have you faced as you pursued your dreams?
Well, for me, I would say that I have to actually continue to work my day job while I pursue my dream. And that's a challenge, you know, because you're kind of, no one is going to be as passionate about your dream as you. So trying to get, you know, people to kind of help out and all of that can be challenging, you know, because you have to be able to still put that energy into what's going to pay the bills and into your passion. So that has definitely been a challenge that I've had to face, just, you know, being able to multitask and to get people that will be enthusiastic about helping me support my dream. So that's a challenge.
And how have you faced that challenge?
You
may just still be facing it.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where you kind of just have to just do it, you know, and there's really no easy answer because, like I said, no one really is going to be as into it as you. But I've been really blessed that I do have people that support me, that help me, family that helps, especially with my show and things like that. So it works itself out. It's a challenge, but I think if you're determined, you just work your way through that challenge.
Have you found similar obstacles or different ones?
Absolutely, and actually the biggest one I found is more in the early phase before I made my decision to pursue a career as a makeup artist. And this is speaking to guys whose hobby is playing Xbox or playing, you know, airplanes. That's, you know, what's it called, remote controlled airplanes on there. They just kind of think, well, you know, this is just a hobby, you know, it's fun to me, but I don't know if the public is going to recognize the value of it. And I had the same complex earlier in my career, is thinking that, well, makeup is just playing with paint to most people, but it's not to me, but to most people, they don't take it seriously. And I kind of devalue the worth of my dream in my own mind. And it's not until when I said, you know, I'm just going to do it, I really don't care what other people think of it, that I start building value under my own dream, and that's the biggest asset.
And that's so important because I'm hearing y'all say, you've got a day job. I know you started a consulting firm, an IT consulting firm. You're working as an office administrator. This is not running in the fields and playing in the daffodils and the daisies. You all are multitasking. You have longer hours, shorter days, because you're committed to these dreams. And moving from that hobby mindset into a, this is what I'm gonna do and I'm gonna make a living doing it, really is a hurdle for a lot of people. And that's why some people do spend 12 years not writing, because they haven't moved from this mindset to a new mindset.
And maybe that's a good question for people to ask themselves too, is what they're interested in, is this a hobby or is this a career for them? And the best way to tell is, do they see themselves doing this for someone else, for pay? Now, given that the money doesn't have to be the driving factor, but some people, if they're really good at quilting, for example, borrow my friend's Jack's story again, the lady could have a great time selecting colors, doing it as a gift for friends, but once they start offering this as a service, that person might need to have a thicker skin to stand up to the criticism of the clients. And if that's difficult for them, maybe that hobby is best staying a hobby.
Yeah, and that's a hurdle that people have to cross. I mean, you're making both of you are making an excellent point, is that at some point you decide this is worth the sacrifice, this is worth it. And some people don't make that leap. And so they stay in dream mode because they haven't really come into the reality of it.
And that's fine. Maybe for some people it is best to stay a hobby. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, there are people watching the show right now who are wondering, you know, how do I pursue my dreams, and what are some tips and tricks that you would offer them? So I would say, here's the question for you all, because we have tons of questions that came in. I'm going to pull some little hot ones for you. But if you were only able to share one thing with people before you passed away about pursuing their dream, what would it be? What would you say? Now that I know what I've known, this is what I would tell you about pursuing your dream.
I would say stay true to you. You know, as you go along, people are going to tell you certain things. There are going to be people that are negative. There's going to be challenges, obstacles. But the biggest thing is just stay true to yourself, to that dream. It can expand, it can change, but stay true to that focus and to who you really are and what you want to accomplish.
Absolutely, and it's so true. It's so true, because you may have a dream that people may say, I'm sure, domestic violence, this is how you should do it, or this is the way it should look, and you have to know who you are and what you're meant to be. So good. What about you?
I think Leeta, you know, had it right on the dot, is stay true to yourself, and you know, it's sometimes I think it's the school system, or maybe taking too many tests, that people think there's a wrong or right answer to everything. But there really isn't when it comes to yourself. how you feel about a certain way, there is just the way it is. That is the right way, however that manifests in yourself. So I say is stay true to yourself, and also maybe I would add to that is recognize the God-given talents within each one of us. And some of us are fortunate enough to come into it earlier in our life. Sometimes people will stumble on it later in their lives, but definitely keep a antenna out for what is the inner saying to me about what I'm really good at.
Yes. Why am I here on this earth, and start to pursue that. Okay, are y'all ready for some wild card questions? Sure. And anyone can answer these. Here's one. What do you do with fear when it shows up as it relates to pursuing your dream? What do you do with fear?
I go ahead and tackle that one. Is there's fear comes up all the time, and am I going to make it in this business, and am I good enough in this business? There's a lot of doubts coming up, and I think the best way for me is to go ahead and do something about it. Okay. If my fear is that I'm not going to be good enough for this job, well, take a class in it. Go online and study about it, and by the very movement or action of studying it, it takes my mind away from thinking about the fear and focusing on what to do for a solution.
And we spoke on a previous show about fear, that fear comes to ask you questions, and it may be saying, well, what are you going to do? You're not qualified. And like you said, fear asks the questions. You're the one who just has to answer it. But when fear comes, most people run away from it, or they become paralyzed by it, when really facing fear and answering the question that it comes to ask is really the purpose of it. And sometimes we misconstrue that and become paralyzed by it. So answer the questions and move on from fear. Here's another one. All right. What do I do if people in my life do not agree with the dream I'm pursuing? What do I do with my relationships when people do not agree with the dream?
Well, I would say to answer that you're going to probably always have that in the beginning. Take what they say, with a grain of salt, as they say. You don't want to just totally ignore it, because your family and friends that care about you, they may have really some good insight that they can offer you, or maybe they see some pitfalls that can help you in pursuing your goal. But at the end of the day, if you're passionate about it, it goes back to what we said earlier. You have to be true to yourself.
Stay true to you.
So just be determined.
That's the mantra.
Be determined to keep going. And you don't have to sever the relationship, but just stick to your plan.
Excellent. And I like what you said, that sometimes people have perspective that you don't have, and they may sound like negative, but really they may be showing you something that you can't see because you have those blinders on. Right. Are you ready for another question? Financially, what is the wisest way for me to pursue my goals? I know that God is big enough and can provide all of my dreams, but if I don't have money, should I not pursue the dream after all? Money, money, show me the money. Okay, let's see if we can show you the money. Any thoughts on financials?
That's something that I've been dealing with for the past couple months. So I'm glad that there's someone else thinking the same way. And what that boils down for me, in retrospect, is having a strategy. Now, a dream is only letting us know where the end point is, and it's up to us to figure out a route to get there. And in my case, I kind of went back to what I'm good at, because I know I'm a great public speaker. I know I'm good at speaking in front of people. Now, am I passionate about that? Not as passionate as I am about makeup. However, I'm good at that, and I can make it work for me in the market quickly. The market recognizes the value I bring to that. So that's what I did, is starting a software consulting business that draws on a readily recognized ability that I'm very comfortable with.
This is so important. I really want you to hammer this nail right into the wood on this. Is that there are some skills that we have that are that can be monetized in short term. And like you all have a day job, we all have a day job, and that day job sometimes finances. But we have to be strategic about this, and that's where people miss it. Is the strategy. Making sure that you're really thinking through how much does your dream really cost you, and then being busy about generating income to support that habit.
Yes, and once you make that decision, it's a matter of how much is it going to take you to earn the much amount of money that you need to go full time. Now, we're not talking about being in the 9-to-5 grind forever here. That's why it's important to set up a milestone of how much money I want to make, by when, and which step on the ladder is that going to push me to?
It takes a lot of discipline
dream.
to do that.
Absolutely.
You know, and sometimes people think, I might as well just stick with what's stable and secure versus being very creative and strategic.
And the hardest thing, honestly, and once you get over it, everything is going to be downhill, is figuring out what you want to do as a strategy in the meantime, because then going to work becomes easier, because you know this is not for that paycheck. No, this is for the dream, right?
Get out of here soon.
Right.
Okay, here's another question, ladies. Was there a time when you thought your dream was dead, and what did you do?
For me, I would say definitely, again, going to the whole day job thing. There was a time where I was trying to find employment, and you know, I was just getting frustrated because I knew I couldn't really financially do what I wanted to do towards my dream. So I just got caught up in this ball of negativity for a moment. Yeah. But you know, everyone has their own level of faith in whatever they believe in. So for me, you know, I kind of went back to the basics, and I rebuilt my faith. And I thought, okay, everything up to this point has been so that I can do my dream. Right. You know, everything has made it worth it. So let me not give up. Let me change the negative energy, create some positive energy. And before you knew it, I was able to have a job, the perfect day job, so that I could pursue my dream. Yes. So I would say, you know, not giving up faith, whether it's in, you know, higher power or just whatever it is, don't give up faith. Yeah. And if you get negative, be quick about removing that negative energy and creating positive energy.
And I think with dreams dying, there is a propensity for us to start speaking negatively and thinking negatively and surrounding ourselves with negative influences. Of course, for me, you know, my connection is with God. I'm longing for and seeking God for His direction for my life, and fueling my joy as it relates to dreams. Yes. But people do become exhausted, and they start to sound exhausted, and really that sends your dreams running in another direction. I don't think people really understand how your energy towards dreams can kill.
It's huge.
Kill it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good point. All right, so let's see. Okay, so I want you to finish this sentence for me. Living my dream is blank. So you could fill it with whatever, when you think of that sentence, what does it mean to you? Living my dream is...
I'd say living my dream is losing track of time. When you're doing something, whether it's as a full-time job or it is part-time as a hobby, if you find yourself losing track of time, you're probably doing something right.
Interesting. So you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that when you're doing this thing, it's like 24 hours in a day. It doesn't even, it just keeps going and going and going. People have to remind you to sleep, eat, because you're so involved in this thing. Yeah. So that's a good way to find the dream. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Wow. What about you? Living your dream is?
I would say it's my purpose. It's my purpose. I really feel like everything that kind of led me up to that point, you know, every thing that I went through in life, all of that was really so that I could use that to help educate and empower others. So I would say it's my purpose.
And that's interesting, because people are always asking that question, what is my purpose? What am I here to do? And that question becomes kind of paralyzing for a lot of people. Yeah. Have you all found any tips or tricks on how to simplify that whole idea of life purpose? I mean, now you have it down to domestic violence and changing the face of that, and you have it down to making people beautiful and really helping them in different aspects of their lives. How do you take the bigness out of find your purpose, live your dreams?
You know, that's a great question, and I think for me is asking myself, what do I really enjoy to do? Because no matter
that simplifies it.
Because that's what makes it sustainable. You know, the purpose could be, you know, saving the world, but if I don't know how to get it, if I'm kind of not up for the means of getting it, you know, the purpose quickly loses its appeal.
Right.
So in my case, I think about what I'm really interested in doing. That's makeup. I've been playing with makeup. I've been, you know, playing with hair, and this for as long as I can remember. And maybe, you know, purpose is, you know, God wants me to be happy and fulfilled and be a meaningful contribution to society. But it really starts, I think, with my inner feeling toward something. If it's positive, keep on looking.
Yeah, because there's no joy attached to that. Just,
yes.
You know, if you're feeling obligated, it is not your purpose. I'll tell you right now.
Right.
You're going to say something.
Yeah, I would just add that for me, what I did is I kind of went back and I did kind of like a reality check.
Okay.
And in every aspect, whether it was when I was married or whether it was in, you know, my congregation or whatever aspect of my life, somehow I ended up doing the same thing, you know, empowering people, getting people together, little, you know, women groups and things like that. And so when you do that, you kind of take stock.
Yeah.
You find that your purpose will follow you no matter where you find yourself. You will gravitate to doing exactly what you were meant to do, like you were mentioning.
Yeah.
So I think that's a real easy way too to kind of figure and to simplify. You know, like you said, what do I love doing and what do I always end up doing? And then you'll be like, this is it. This is the answer. This is what I need to pursue.
That's awesome. All right, so ladies, we need to encourage some people out there because there's some people who are really working hard at their dreams and they're not really seeing a lot of fruit coming from it. And then there's some people who are soaring and they're on their way and they're doing great. So I want you to just look into whatever camera you can and share with them and just encourage someone who may be looking at this show who's either about to give up or who just needs that extra pat on the back. All right, so who wants to go first?
I'll start.
Okay.
I would just say, don't give up. It may seem trialsome right now, it may seem challenging, but don't give up and learn to celebrate the smallest thing, whether it's just something that everyone else would discount. Learn to celebrate that little thing because it's those little small accomplishments that's going to lead to the major accomplishment. And it's what's going to make you feel good about what you're doing. So don't give up and celebrate along the way.
Don't give up. Don't give up. What about you?
I would say to be patient because a lot of times we are so used to getting results. We're a results-driven society. Now, the great thing with living your purpose is that if you're really doing something that you really enjoy, the very act of doing that is giving you joy. So never lose joy with you and make sure that whatever you're doing, just you're enjoying it by the minute, whether or not that produces results or not.
Very nice. Ladies, thank you for joining. Wasn't this fun? Just talking about our dreams, helping other people live their dreams. And I want to thank you so much for joining us. And no matter where you are, what you're doing, your dream is worth pursuing. And I hope that you will continue to follow that dream and make a difference, change your world. And I'll see you next time on the Next Steps to Success with Brenda Bertrand. Thank you, Leeta and Connie, for joining me. And thank you for fulfilling your dreams and helping us fulfill ours.